and welcome to October's Oscilloscope. It gives me great delight in being able to introduce Rob Dickson, who is over that way, who is co-hosting with me. Hello, Rob. How are you?
Evening. Yeah, I'm very good, Ed. How are you? Yeah,
good. Right. Yeah, I'm well, thank you. Under all of this strange kind of lockdown that's continuing and the madness that is this really.
Absolutely.
But yeah, for anybody who might just be tuning in who's not come across any of this before, yeah, Oscilloscope has always traditionally been an event that we'd held every month in North Wales, and basically focusing on experimental electronic music, people putting something out there that they're trying to develop things, trying to do things, trying to stretch what they're doing. And with COVID and the lockdown, we've kind of carried on as a monthly thing on the last Tuesday of every month, and here we still are. It's kind of quite nice, fairly interactive, trying to get composers and artists talking about their work. So I'm joined sort of as the voice of the audience with Rob today, who is also a composer and musician, quite renowned for doing work with sort of modular synthesis, and is also the person behind, or one of the people behind, I should say nowadays, Modulate, which you may or may not have come across floating around on the internet as well, which is a wonderful thing. Yeah, Rob, anything you'd like to say about what you do or your kind of interest?
Other than like you, we once did this with people in actual places where we could congregate. So yeah, we're not far from each other. We're just down the A55 corridor. So
absolutely, you know,
yeah, like you, just kept things going online and tried to keep a sense of collaboration and creativity going in these fairly trying times for everyone. So yeah, slightly different, I guess, styles of what we do in our shows normally, but the same kind of attitudes and values behind it. So yeah, delighted to be with you tonight. And
oh, it's a pleasure to have you. It really is. Yeah. So for anybody who's sort of tuning in from somewhere else over the world, we're based in North Wales here, so on the coast, currently under lockdown. But it's we've got artists from, well, all over the world being able to do things with us now, which is very nice, because the whole digital thing does mean that it's not quite as difficult as getting into some town hall in the middle of North Wales. We can have people and friends doing things all over the place, and indeed hopefully people being able to come and join in and have a listen. So without further ado, because that's me wittering on quite a bit, it gives me great pleasure to introduce a sound and video piece by Mark Albro, who some of you may or may not have recognized as a name, who's kind of become one of the stalwarts of doing things with the Oscilloscope. It's got a long history of doing electronic music, but this is a piece he's put together very recently. It's quite topical, largely with footage from around one of the towns here in North Wales, in Llandudno, and logically entitled Strange Days, which, yeah, they are. Kind of goes with the theme at the minute, I suppose. So, yes, sit back, relax, and I guess enjoy some strange days. Markle.
Very much.
Thank you very, very much, Mark. That was an ending to nearly catch me out, wasn't it?
Yes.
What a wonderful piece.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us about it, or?
Well, it stemmed really from the footage which I shot while I was waiting for my friend on Mostyn Street in Llandudno, and we were supposed to be going to Fortes, and when he finally turned up, we realised that actually, well, whilst I was waiting, there was all these people coming and going, getting too close to me, and making me feel uncomfortable, and lots of people wearing masks and being careful, and other people not. And I was sort of, it's the first time I think I'd just sort of stood and observed. So I reflected on that, and when he did arrive, we realised that there's no way we were going to go into Fortes because it was too busy, and my friend was a bit vulnerable anyway. So we just went for a walk somewhere else. So it was really reflecting on the current situation in a way. Obviously, it was before the most recent lockdown. So when I viewed the footage, I thought, yeah, I want to do something with this, and just played various bits alongside it, and then obviously treated the footage, as you can see. And it was just, it all looked and felt very odd to me. So that's sort of what the feeling was. I was just following that as usual, with no structure, just trying things out and keeping what I thought worked and what worked in terms of layered sound.
It's
and
a really
visuals.
nice kind of organic approach. Rob, I see you sat there with a pen or a pencil.
Yeah, no, I was just
like you're
I was
about to go at any moment.
Yeah, no. So did you use any of the kind of background noise in the audio?
I did,
it sounds like something that had been slowed down.
Yeah, I used the soundtrack to the footage, and then, you know, as you could tell from the beginning, it sort of established it as being, you know, this is normal, ish.
Normal, yeah.
And then it didn't. Then it wasn't normal, and there was an overlap between the normal speed sound of the soundtrack and the visual slowing down, which was quite interesting. But yeah, just to sort of establish that, to give it a context as to what came later, I thought that was.
I liked how it almost appeared like there were little moments of clarity when the melodic bits came in that then quickly disappeared again. It was if you're trying to capture current thought processes, then very nicely done, sir. But now I really enjoyed that. I thought the whole thing fitted together beautifully. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I was very concerned it might be a bit overlong. It's always a danger when you're working on your own.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I was kind of surprised when it ended. So it certainly wasn't. Certainly wasn't overlong for me.
No, I mean that certainly kind of works as a thing, and sort of almost adds to the strangeness and the sort of otherworldly jolt of it, that you all of a sudden now you're back out of that world, and it's like, ooh, okay.
Yeah, thanks for that. That's sort of what I had in mind, because I did think about trying to put a kind of fade out and, you know, a nice polite sort of end to it, but I thought, no, that's like wrapping it up in a little bow, and it's not really about that. So yeah.
I was quite intrigued with it as well, with in the way that you've actually got quite a lot of almost harmonic structure hiding in there. There's a lot of drone things that kind of seem to pop out in kind of minor thirds and all sorts of things like that you don't instantly think of when you just sort of see that slowed down footage. I mean, was that a conscious thing, or was that just how it worked out? Or
I think it's probably just how it worked out. I did want to use, as you say, I tend to use drones, but minor thirds, I wouldn't really know what that was, to be honest, because I tend to be a bit of a sort of non-musician noisemonger, if you like. So
Yeah.
I know a bit about chords and so on, but I didn't want to consciously. Well, I used a few, just my sort of favourite melancholy sounds.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I couldn't necessarily name them off the top of my head.
Right.
But obviously, I do tend towards the kind of more minor chords because of that feel, I suppose. But no, I tend to just work in following my nose, which I know I've said before. I just do it intuitively. So, yeah, I was just sort of using an SH101 with a TB303 to do a few bits later on, that the little sequences that kept popping in and out, and various other sounds to give it a bit of not musicality exactly, but a kind of, as you were saying, Rob, some notes and some chords in there, instead of it just being, again, giving a context to the layers of other sounds, the electronic sounds, just to ground it for a bit and then go.
I think
So yeah, no, I was just following my nose.
I think in the context of what you described, the bits of normality probably worked really well with the rest of it. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, there have been some astounding comments come through as well.
Yeah, and it sounded ace in headphones as well, by the way. The stereo
Yeah,
on
it really did.
Yeah, it did, actually. I was amazed. I was expecting to be in mono.
Yes, no, we've gone up a step,
Yes.
which is quite nice. I'm not sure if it's mono on Facebook and stereo on YouTube. I'm not quite altogether sure. I'm sure somebody who's able to hear will probably tell us. But oh yeah, David Roberts sounds fine in mono too, and it looks like he's watching on Facebook. Okay, so heaven knows, if you're
Claudia,
locked
thank
down
you.
with more time on your hands than you know what to do with, please feel free to jump around and see what it's doing. So yeah, there's some wonderful comments there. There's one that hasn't been picked up by Rob yet. There's by Lindsay. Yes, Lindsay down there. And Lindsay Colborne loved it. Really captured the times and impossible not to wonder about the past, present, and future of all those people, and the sense of the ghosts of future selves somehow meditative. Which
that's very nice.
There we are.
That's
I guess that's job done then, really, isn't it?
Thank you very much. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, well done. Thank you very, very much. And
well,
I
thank
believe.
You all for the opportunity.
Oh, there we are. There's the links for you. For if you
Great.
do want to go and have a listen to any more of Mark's work, which, based on that, I think you'd be daft if you didn't. There are the links there, and please feel free to go and have a listen. Mark, as ever, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Cheers. Thank you.
Hey, there we are. Clap, clap. Wow, that was I really enjoyed that. It's very strange how something that's so associated with day-to-day life, just that little twist can really change things, which is quite, yes, as Rob on the comments has put it, what a start. Yeah, I second that. Sorry, go on.
No, nothing. I just going to say, it's lovely to see the development of what Mark's been doing as well. I've been on a few shows with him and watching him, and that was such a strong piece. So
absolutely,
hats off. Really, it was a brilliant start.
So, following on from that, with yet another strong piece, and I mentioned earlier that we're fortunate and that we're now working in this digital domain to be able to have people from further afield. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome Douglas McCausland here, who is currently somewhere, I believe, basically in the California area, although he might not be, could be almost anywhere. A piece is entitled Convergence, which is a work for augmented double bass and live electronics and ambisonics, and exploring the interactivity between that sort of setup and musical gesture and sound in space. So yes, as we are now officially properly in stereo, that's wonderful. And this is the second piece in a small collection of works developed for double bass and a collaboration with the bassist Alexander Gabris, which I apologize if I've murdered his name. I'm sure that Doug will tell me in due course when we have him on after his piece. So without further ado, Douglas McCausland and Convergence. you very, very much. Doug McCausland and Alexander Gabris. Is that how you pronounce his name? Whoa, Doug, I think it's either some big hiss on your mic or something. Whoa. It's distorting to crazy. It sounds like the gain must be way up, or I don't know. Getting there, I think. It's trying.
I'm using an external mic.
Oh, that's something just changed.
Yeah. That's better.
Okay. Are we good here?
Oh, it's not great.
Hmm. That's
Anyway,
about-
whilst you have a fiddle with that, I mean the comments that were coming through were wonderful and astounding. Benjamin Buck, epic. Okay, sum it up simply. But yeah, great combination of acoustic and electronic, superb stuff. Yeah, I very much second that, and it's wonderful. Okay, the range of expression from stringed instruments is amazing, and having had a piece from you in a previous event, and you not be able to be with us, it's great to now hopefully have you sort of audible with us now. So
Hopefully so.
yeah, there's still a lot of noise on there, but you we can roughly understand you, so that's brilliant. So yeah, welcome. Rob, do you want to start asking something first, and we'll see how it works with Doug's mic, I guess.
Yeah, I think I mean, like everyone else, I was just blown away by the performance and I guess the interaction between the two of you. So I guess the question I had is the control you had over the sound from the double bass. I think everyone's probably fascinated in how that actually worked and what parameters you were actually able to control with your physical movements.
Sure. So the interface that I'm using is essentially a giant granular synthesis instrument. And I'm both taking recordings in real time from the bass, but also accessing a bank of samples that I have sort of prepared and queued up to arrive at the correct time. Now I'm linking parameters between the left hand and the right hand at different times, and the right hand is generally speaking the more expressive one that has more direct control over like reading through grain buffers and rate and things like that.
Okay.
But the bass is covered in 8 microphones, which are then blown out into ambisonics. So the whole piece is almost like you're inside of the bass. You have this sort of omniscient listening perspective, but that also affords me the opportunity to pull audio from anywhere on the bass, whether that's at the bridge, on the tailpiece, up at the top, like when I grabbed his sort of pterodactyl screech. So yeah, that's the general idea.
Yeah, can I just butt in quickly? I've just got a message coming through from Rob, who's helping tech. It's still distorting quite a lot for us back here. Would you mind sort of moving back from your mic a bit, or just talking a little bit quieter? Because when you do, it sort of seems to be all right.
Sure.
I don't know how or why. It's very, very strange. But yeah. Sorry to interrupt. Is that the? I mean, I was quite intrigued as to what extent the work was sort of notated or prepared, because there was a real synergy between the pair of you. Was that to what extent was that really worked out in fine detail, or was that working together a lot, or how did that work?
I sent Alexander an audio score and sort of a broad strokes kind of graphic roadmap of what I wanted the piece to be in advance, about a month. And then we had about a week in person to work this out. And what it essentially came down to is that we used that roadmap, but then devised a sort of set of gestures and ways for us to communicate in real time. So where one of us is kind of taking over the piece at different points and pulling it back together. So it's very much a conversation. Now, the strange thing is that now I'm beset with the task of notating it onto an actual score for other performers in the future, which is quite the undertaking. So do not start with an explicit score, but I'm now working towards one.
Oh, brilliant. That's cool.
I mean, the other thing that struck me was the kind of physicality of it. So, I mean, the gestures bit you mentioned is quite interesting because it kind of looked like you were grabbing the sound in terms of what you were doing. It was, the interplay between the two was fascinating to watch and trying to work out. I mean, you could see these gestures, and it's almost like you were pulling the sound in, doing stuff with it.
Yeah, I wanted to design it to have a very understandable kind of gestural language. And he, as a performer, is just a joy to work with. He's so emotive. He's 100% in every time. One of my favorite details, and I don't know if anyone noticed this, but the top plate of the bass, by about the halfway point in the piece, is just covered in sweat.
I did wonder. I was looking at it going, has he thrown water on it or something? And
he's very active, and we're both exhausted by the end. So,
oh, it's brilliant. Yeah, I mean, the gloves that you had there. I mean, very obviously. I mean, there's very strong kind of gestural links there, which worked really well visually, but I presume worked really well for actually physically grabbing and doing what you're using. I mean, how much time and effort do you put into working out the physicalities of that compared to what you're doing musically, or the two interchangeable?
That's I mean, you're kind of underscoring the development for this entire project, which is that this is now the second piece that I've written explicitly for performance with these gloves, but I've been developing them now for about a year and a half. And that process is very, it's a very positive experience for me because I get, depending on the day, depending on my mood, I get to either work on the musical elements or the very nitty-gritty gestural control kind of gesture recognition tech side of things. So it's in sync the whole way as far as development goes.
That's really cool.
And are you able to change the parameters you're controlling with the gloves using anything else, like like a foot pedal or anything like that, or is it kind of fixed in terms of you kind of know what it is you're doing with each gesture?
I have sort of a free performance version of this, which has you can see there's a MIDI controller on the table. In the context of this piece, that's really just for me to get levels set and everything. Okay. And then at various points in the piece, there's timed cues that change the actual functionality of the glove in real time. So there's a series of cues, and you can see my eyes sort of flit over to the screen every now and then because I have a progress bar showing me where I'm at in the current cue, when the next one's queued up, etc. So,
brilliant. Thank you very much. Oh, there's some comments coming through. This could well be every noise I've ever wanted to make, which coming from Rob, given that Rob's actually behind the scenes and did all the idents and everything for this, I think that's quite a compliment. John Williams, electronic version of guitar smashing, but with way more style. Okay, yeah. Okay, that's an interesting one coming from Andrea Andrich. Have you worked with other instruments using this system?
This is the first one that I've done with another performer. So like I said, the first piece that I wrote for this instrument is called Isolate, and it's just for me performing electronics in real time. But I plan on doing quite a lot more with this system in the very near future. So,
oh, it's brilliant. Oh, there we are. More lovely compliments coming through again as well. So, mind-blowing creative sounds and performance too. So yeah, Doug, it's lovely to finally have you here. You know, I think our paths have sort of been crossing in the digital world for quite a long time now, and it's great to sort of finally see you face to face, even if only in a small box on the screen. So
absolutely.
Thank you very, very much for a wonderful piece. I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you for the piece, and thank you for taking time to have a chat with us. So yeah,
of course.
thank you very, very much, Doug McCausland, everyone. Wow, I really enjoyed that. You know, that's one of the things about doing this sort of thing is every so often you get pieces that kind of people just bring along and are exactly what you'd hoped. And I didn't type that in, by the way, if anyone's wondering. It wasn't me.
No.
However, coming up next, we have a completely different sort of piece by Andrea Andrich, who you may have noticed put one of the questions earlier. A piece called YT Loop and another piece that goes with it entitled YT Noise, as in YT, as in the letters, sort of YouTube. And it's looking at misaligned loops and video, or incorporating video. Totally different from Doug's piece that we just had, but nonetheless thoroughly engaging and quite good fun, actually, looking at ambient sounds and the way perceptions interact with each other. So there are two pieces, one of which is YT Loop, one of which is YT Noise, and we'll have Andrea on after it to have a quick chat about them. So without further ado, and moving on, Andrea Andrich.
over the expression, over the expression. This is this, 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 over the
Okay, so fuzzy Ashley. 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 Okay, so fuzzy. 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 Okay, so fuzzy.
The other end. The other end. The other end. The other end. The other end.
They'll have Henry. 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 They'll have Henry.
So they shouldn't get.
Hi there, I'm Michael. Hi there, I'm Michael. Old chin wrap. 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 Hi there, I'm Michael. Old chin wrap. 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 Really nice. 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 Really click on it. 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 Click on it.
If you have a 22RE engine, that will probably be a good indicator.
Video on how to adjust the first step is to 20RE 22RE engines. Now we're going to cover two different methods of doing this. The first one is going to be per the Toyota service manual.
Dedicated to my spiritual guru, Mataji Nirmala Devi, and all the women in the world in recognition of the tremendous, unimaginable
Saat bangun, masih belajar. Kamu bangun. Pokoknya selamat pagi dan selamat ya.
And for this we actually used a very
video is our onomatopoeic word that describes. There are 4 ways
DJ आप सुन रहे हैं डीजे टिंकू बाबू का गाना DJ Aparto.
Welcome back to another video podcast, and as you guys can see, it's late. What's it late? It's late. We're gonna install a double loop recorder, and I actually bought myself a Unity Audio double loop. It's a
This Arcadic sound distribution system will amplify your entire podcast.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back. It's Sharp, and today we have another SoundCloud Sunday at It's Sharp. So today, make it sound
the board that I created to help me with development of the squawking clock replacement soundboard. It's another board that
Okay, I'm recording. Say that again, say that again. Give us a quick speech.
How to play custom sounds. In this quick video, I'll show you how you can remove the keyboard. So if you've got a loud keyboard and other people are complaining that your keyboard is too loud, here's how you can minimize that and potentially remove your keyboard.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Andre. Astounding set of pieces. It's quite second one's quite hard to deal with after a while, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, the first one as well. It's yeah, it definitely grows on you. That first one, I kind of sort of started watching it, kind of, oh, what's this, and then gradually kind of got more and more sucked into it almost.
This first one was a bit tricky, because sometimes, you know, when you run, it's all I don't know if that's clear from the beginning, but there is a program that does all the selection of everything and plays them in a sequence. So it's a computer generated mashup of real-time computer generated mashup of YouTube videos. But the first one sometimes, you know, really takes some sort of inspiration and puts out like videos funnier after funnier, you know, but sometimes not so much. So I think it has more, the second one that plays many more videos is kind of more balanced, I think, at every run, you know. Whereas this one depends, you know, it's interesting when it plays with children and then with the bigger ensembles or parties, things like that. But it focuses more on individual videos, so that's harder to nail down.
Yeah.
So how much of the programming is kind of controllable? The parameters of it, is it something you can go in and fiddle with in terms of the lengths each bit plays for, or
yeah, okay, so certainly there are certain constants in the program, like the loop is always 1 second long, so that's fixed.
Okay.
Then actually the key part of it is the search phrases that the program sends to the YouTube server. And these are hard to nail down really well, because if you just send, so the program has a dictionary of like about 5,000 words, most used words that are statistics is based on a collection of articles. So the program has these words, but if you were to just send them out randomly, you will get almost only spoken videos. So it wouldn't have much diversity. So you have to get a bit creative with that. So in the first video, names of musical instruments are sent together with some randomly selected words.
Okay.
And so that's why you see a violinist and then I don't know, a trombonist and then something else, you know. And some queries the program sometimes uses the recommendation feature and sometimes sends new queries to the server, and then the server returns a list of videos and then it picks like several of them, puts them on a queue, and then waits until the list is empty and then goes again. Yeah. The second program, the YT noise uses, you know, there is the website thesaurus.com, so all the synonyms of the word noise. So it picks those at random and then sends them to the YouTube server.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, it feels very much like they're using similar kind of very similar tools, but coming out with something distinctly different.
Yeah, all is in the query. That's the main thing to nail here. Somebody has mentioned the YouTube poop. It's part of the inspiration for this project. Although those are made manually, this is not.
So I mean, you mentioned that it's basically just a query that does it. I mean, was the YT noise still on the 1 second loop?
No, it's not on a loop. No, okay. So the one is not repetitive. So there, the program also chooses how long it will play of the given video and from which point to which point, and it chooses these things at random.
Okay.
For each video, whereas in the loop one, all the loops are like 1 second long. Although the position is selected at random, and then as you probably noticed, the same video is played in multiple places at the same time. Whereas in the second one, there is no such reuse of a video. It always goes with the new material.
Absolutely. No, it's
sorry,
go on.
No, I was just doing. I have no idea if someone could mathematically work it out, the probability of something repeating on the second one, but given the amount of content on YouTube, I imagine it'd probably take a while before you get the
but the thing is that YouTube always actually looks at you and tries to figure out what you would like. So it always, although I log off YouTube when I do these things, but it still makes profile of me, and then actually in the second video there is some repetition, but it's very sparse. Or like when I ran it twice, it did reselect some videos. So yeah, but it is also, the work is a little bit about that, about the recommendation and what you would be proposed, you know. But it's also an interesting way to find interesting stuff on YouTube.
Yeah, it definitely felt like one of those sort of pieces that you could read and understand at a variety of levels. You know, that's quite intriguing like that, and that you could sort of think of it as some very kind of high art metaphorical thing, or you could literally pick up on these loops that are repeating and going, oh wow, that fits with that, and then sort of almost dance along, you know.
But in a sense, you know, in the first video, actually everything fits with everything. So maybe
yeah, that's what's quite strange. Yeah. You know.
Yeah.
No, it's good. So Rob, anything else you've got on your list that you've?
No, I don't think so. I think we've covered most things. Yeah.
In which case, Andrea, it's lovely to have you back again, and thank you very much.
Thanks a lot for having me. It's
an
a pleasure.
Intriguing couple of pieces. So yeah, Andrea, Andrich, everybody, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Guys. It's great having you here. Thank you. Yeah. Wow. It's a really diverse night, and that's very, very cool. I'm enjoying that. And there's Andrea's link down there should you wish to go and visit that, you know. Yeah, whilst we're on the subject of links and going and visiting things, there's still that going around. Yeah, we're all doing this for the fun of it, and hopefully we won't now get a YouTube or Facebook strike due to lots of sampling. But yeah, we're all doing this for the fun of it, and yeah, it's great doing it. If you do get a chance, and if you have got a penny or so to spare, if you don't mind going to coffee.com/oscilloscope, which is down there, and you can literally buy a slot, the team who are making it a coffee, as it were, just to kind of cover the costs of equipment and renting this kind of virtual studio space that we're in, broadcasting, as it were, from. So yeah, that's the really nasty kind of mercenary bit done, which never makes me feel too comfy. But yeah, so if you've got a penny or two, that'd be great. If not, please just carry on enjoying. And with links to other things, that kind of brings us almost seamlessly to a bit of a collaboration between what's going to be between Modulate and Oscilloscope. Rob, do you want to witter about this? Because it was partly your idea as much as mine, really.
Yeah, so I think we talked about this for a while, haven't we?
Yeah.
So because we're only, I don't know, depending where you guys host, about 10-15 miles down the road from each other, we did always talk about collaborating in person and actually doing an event together, and COVID's put paid to that. So so we're going to do it online instead. So the end of next month, November, we're going to host our shows within, I think, 3 days of each other. I think we're doing the Sunday.
Yes, I believe so. Yes.
You guys be on your Tuesday slot, and yeah, the idea, I guess, is people who traditionally do a piece for Modulate, where it's maybe a little bit kind of more structured and
what are you trying to say?
less experimental than
Oscilloscope
might choose to explore something that is more experimental, as I've done with you guys a few times.
Absolutely.
And I guess vice versa, to bring some of you guys out of your comfort zone and or into a comfort zone, I don't know, and do something a little bit more structured and something that's maybe got a like to the clock or a 4/4 beat or that kind of thing. And just give people something different to focus on and be inspired by. I guess is the hope, because we all need that, don't we?
We really do. So yes, I mean, and this kind of goes out particularly to the performers who are involved with modulator or oscilloscope over the years. If you want to have a slot of that, come and get in touch with either myself or Rob, and yeah, we can get that going. And equally, people listening and watching, tune in for things next month. We'll try and keep everything going on the social medias and whatnot to keep everybody informed of that, because that could be great fun, you know. And I think that's something that we don't necessarily seem to see that much on the outside, but it's just, these things are just enjoyable and they're great and they're nice to do nice things with nice people. And it all gets a bit formal, and especially in these little boxes where everybody just sits and talks to each other. But actually, at the end of the day, it's about having fun and exploring and developing new things, you know.
Yeah, and I think the two communities have always been very supportive of each other, and
absolutely.
And I think one thing we've kind of talked about offline is extending that. So if people are thinking about doing something but not sure how to go about it, or just want someone to bounce an idea off, then yeah, that kind of opportunity is there to kind of maybe collaborate in a soft sense with somebody who might just give you a different perspective on what you do. I've certainly found it's helped massively for me with kind of modular, is kind of feedback from you and Charles and Rob on stuff, and trying to incorporate that into a performance as it's all good learning. So
absolutely, no, that's really cool, brilliant. So I think without there's some people saying possibly videos might not be working for them. Maybe it's just a refresh thing. Looks like it's working for most other people, so that's fine. Hopefully it's still running.
Andrea's broken Facebook, probably. It's busy trying to work out the
absolutely. Facebook's just having a brain melt moment going, how many different samples? So hopefully these things will take these things in the spirit they were intended. So yeah. Moving on. Keeping the diversity really going now. We have a work by Tristan Burfield using Raspberry Pi based video capture and played live with Game Boy synth over the top using Arduino Boy, which is a fantastic piece. It's definitely worth a watch, and almost certainly won't break the algorithms. So without further ado, and they can certainly see it's him playing it and drinking his tea whilst he's at it, we have Tristan Burfield. So yeah, let's move on. Thank you very much, Tristan. Hello, Tristan.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you very much. That was I was going to say amazing piece. Do you think of it as a piece or set of pieces?
Yeah, it's kind of like a complete album just being played live. Yeah, the album's called Pocket Music, and it was all written on the Game Boy Classic back in 2005. So it's quite an old thing now, but a classic. So, yeah.
That was really cool. Thank you. Rob, over to you.
Yeah, so I was trying to follow what you're doing. So how much of it was you playing live versus I've never used the Game Boy for music. I just used to play Tetris on it. But how much of it is a sequencer within the Game Boy versus you playing live on it, Tristan?
Yeah, so there's several elements to it. So that, there's backing tracks that were entirely recorded on the Game Boy using kind of a tracker called LSDJ, and that's kind of fully sequenced in the Game Boy itself. So you've kind of got the 4 channels in there. You kind of got 2 pulse channels, triangle channel, a really basic sample channel, and a noise channel. And the challenge is to try and get something musical out of this. But in answer to your question, the bit I was doing live was an accompaniment part over the top of those backing tracks. So you can only use one note at a time with this particular bit of kit. So it's monophonic, Arduino Boy. You can do chords and things with it, but I kind of set myself that challenge really. And then the visuals were kind of pre-recorded, so they weren't sort of generated live. So
yeah, no, it was intriguing. I mean, what was the thinking behind the musical stuff or the musical material for it? I mean, was that working from the image and going, what will sound right and work with this, or was there to and fro with that, or how did you come to the music that we heard?
Yeah, it started with the music rather than the visuals first.
All right.
So yeah, everything is kind of subservient to the music, really. And the starting point was really just learning the different aspects of the program and what routines I could get out of it, you know, and how you could cheat and make kind of chords, and how just how you can get a really kind of full texture from something that's basically just a kind of kid's toy, you know. So that was the idea, but also try and keep it punchy, you know. I didn't want it to drag. I wanted to kind of, that's why I kept that 1 minute formula, a bit like that Residence classic album. You know, I think it can get repetitive and quite boring very quickly. So it's a case of packing a lot into kind of a short, compressed amount of time.
No, that's really cool. Oh, hang on. I seem to have lost my screen with everybody on. Oh, there we are.
There's some of the melodic pieces which certainly could have gone on longer to my ears, but equally, it was, I agree, it was quite nice the way there's a nice kind of flow to it in terms of the, I guess, the pace of each track. Yeah, albeit, say from my point of view, some could have gone on longer. So, yeah. And what was doing the visuals? Just I think Andrea asked what was the.
Yeah, the visuals were all made on a Game Boy camera. So I was trying to keep the theme all kind of 8-bit Game Boy related. So keeping all the sound sources the same. Some of it's was found material, others I did originally. I'm sort of doing more of that now. I've only really started getting more into video this last year. The Raspberry Pi was just literally being used for playback here. So I was just recording all the 11 tracks pre-recorded, which I was using as the backing track to play over the top of. The idea for the Raspberry Pi came from Barry at the Norwich Electronic Music Night. He was doing some sets using the Raspberry Pi, and I thought, well, really I need 2 laptops. And then I started thinking to myself, well, okay, I've got the Raspberry Pi, perhaps I can use the media player on that as the backing track. And that's how I started putting these two together. And it was kind of like just another way of working with visuals, because obviously streaming is quite a challenge, and I like to find new ways of doing things. So
absolutely.
Video recorded on the Game Boy then? Sorry.
No.
Yeah, so a lot of the the original source material for all the video was the Game Boy. Yeah, I mean, a lot with the Game Boy camera, it was just in the early days of digital cameras. It was kind of like a kid's novelty toy. It's literally just a point and shoot. There's also games on it, and also you can make some kind of cheesy tunes on there as well. But again, it was the idea of kind of using something that was a kind of a child's toy and seeing, well, okay, can we make serious music with this, and what would it sound like?
Cool. I mean, there's a question that's come through on the bottom of the screen there saying, do you work exclusively with retro chiptune style? And if so, where did your love of that genre come from?
Yeah, I do kind of I'm sort of a difficult one to pigeonhole, really, because I do work with different styles. But yeah, chiptune is kind of my first love. So yeah, well, how did it come about? Yeah, it was basically very early on in the when this genre was new. I was doing a master's in music technology at the time, and then I happened to just stumble upon a live set from DJ Scotch Egg, who is absolutely amazing. I think he's a genius. And at the time, he was creating kind of very punky sounds, and I was really interested in this idea of Malcolm McLaren wrote this article called 8-Bit Punk. And that's why I've always stuck to this kind of really rigid 2-minute, 1-minute format, because I wanted it punchy and quick. And I felt I got a lot of that from DJ Scotch Egg's stuff, where he was, you know, screaming into a microphone, very high energy, frenetic music. And at the time, I'd never heard anything like that. And I thought, this is something I'd really like to do. And that's how I really got into it.
Oh, that's cool. Thank you. Rob, that looked like that triggered something that you were writing down there, is it?
No, I was just thinking of that. I think you've seen Kid Carpet. It's kind of a similar.
Yes, I used to see him a lot back in Bristol in the day.
Yeah, no, he's got a similar kind of attitude to his kind of performances. It's quite DIY and punky, and his songs don't they don't last for that long. So no, it just made me think of his performances.
Yeah, man's a legend. Yeah.
I mean, seen him at midnight at the festival, where I think he woke up the entire campsite. Aside from those of us that busy parting to him. So yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So yeah, we've had some wonderful kind of reactions and comments come through. I don't know if you've seen them bit through on the way. Yeah, I'd second that. That's definitely very effective. Love the texture of the images. So yeah, one last question before we run out of time. How did you select the images for each piece? There we are. Let's go for that one.
Yeah, well, some of it was created originally. The texture is like, the whole theme was 8-bit and keeping it raw and gritty and pixelated, and I wanted to kind of match that kind of pixelated kind of feel with the music, I guess. So quite an intuitive process, but it was a lot of fun to put together.
Oh, that's cool. Well, in which case, unless you've got anything else to ask, Rob. Sorry.
No, nothing more from me. No, I'm good.
Brilliant. In which case, Tristan, thank you very, very much. That was a wonderful, album of pieces. So yeah, thank you very much, and yeah, it's greatly appreciated you joining us.
Great,
thank you. There's his link down there if you want to go and have a listen and explore his work some more. So that brings us up to our final piece of the evening, by Andrew Hooker, and it is entitled Abstraction 4 for Maria Chavez, which is a turntable deconstruction, reconstruction of one of the Bach organ works, or some of the Bach organ works, I should say. Yeah, and as it says on there, the links for the artists are in Facebook chats and whatnot. So yeah, I will not witter too much about this, because I know that we're going to have Andrew come in and join us at the end and briefly tell us about his work. So yeah, without further ado, Andrew Hooker. Thank you very, very much, Andrew.
Thank you.
That's an intriguing piece. That really is. It's a real juxtaposition. It just kind of feels like you got this sort of kind of high art J.S. Bach stuff and the sort of Muhammad Ali, and sometimes it feels a bit like how everybody's head's feeling right now, and sometimes it kind of goes into this sort of almost Victorian seaside strongman kind of thing, almost. You know, it's quite intriguing. But seeing your write-up on it, saying it's a sort of turntable deconstruction, reconstruction thing that you did live. Was that really just a turntable? I mean, that's intriguing. Or how did you achieve that?
It was, yeah. It was supposed to be. It was an intermission between two dance pieces that we performed at Capstone Theatre in Liverpool, and I knew that we had a 10-minute gap, and I knew that the two dancers wanted to sort of get refreshed and change, and what have you. And I didn't want to go backstage, so I thought I'd just, do something in those 10 minutes. And it had to be with the turntable because that was set up for the next dance performance. And earlier in the day, I'd gone shopping and found a really nice set of box set of Bach organ pieces. And I thought I could use those somehow. So I took those into the theatre without any rehearsals at all. Just it was my single turntable, a looper, and a delay pedal in one, and that was basically it. It was just a question of manipulating the record. So I sort of had a bass of sort of a heavy drone as a bass, and then started playing the more the rhythmic stuff on top of that, and we seemed to be blocked. Somehow.
Sorry, do we seem to be blocked somehow? No, we're definitely still getting you here.
Okay. So this is
yeah. No, we can definitely hear you. There was a question from Andrea there saying which Bach piece was used and why. Yeah, which Bach piece in particular? Because I mean, I was listening to it going, I can't recognize which one. Definitely. Have we lost Andrew? Seem to have lost you momentarily. Which is a real shame. Maybe Andrew will come back. He has gone. Oh dear. Hopefully we might get him back in a second. Oh, hello, you're back. Hello. Brilliant.
I don't know how much you heard of that.
I think we got about as far as "you're blocked" or something as a comment from you, and that's where we got to.
Okay, so yeah, so okay, so that was basically it. It was just a turntable, a looper and delay in one pedal, and yeah, just a pure improvisation. That's I didn't know what I was doing. I just started playing, and before I knew it, the dancers were back on stage, and that was it. And I think you can actually hear quite prominently the audience clapping and snorting and coughing and what have you. So I decided to keep all that in. There was no manipulation of any kind. Post-production, I mean, it was just as it was. And it's gone again.
No, we're still here. We can
sorry,
still hear
the connection
you.
keeps.
No, it's fine.
Disappearing.
I mean, that's
okay.
That's the physicality that goes with it of people shuffling around and sneezing or not sneezing, but and also the sound of the needle at the end kind of works really quite well against this sort of motion and movement of this. I assume it's Muhammad Ali and someone else. So that's quite intriguing. It's a interesting counterpoint. I mean, Rob, I've wittered quite a bit. Anything you want to?
The popping again.
I think we're losing you a bit, Andrew. Oh dear, yeah. Okay. In which case, should we say thank you very much?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. I think you're buffering a bit somewhat. No, he's disappeared again. Oh dear. Okay. In which case, because it's obviously the internet is having a difficult night, it seems, for everybody. In which case, Andrew, thank you very, very much. That is hugely appreciated. Hopefully, you can still hear us. So there's a link there for Andrew's work, Andrew Leslie Hooker at bandcamp.com. We might have him back. Hello. Yes, he's back. Okay, give it one last go. Yes. Hello. Yeah.
I think the problem is, you can hear me. I think his bark. I think his ghost is roaming around this.
Yeah, I think you might have upset him. But no, it's.
Well, actually, I wanted to say that the sound of the shuffling, the feet, and the audience was most of the audience moving out of the theatre when I started playing, because of course it was an intermission, so they went out to. I'm not sure whether it was because of the music or whether it was because they needed a pee or something, but yeah, no, it's as it was anyway. I mean, that's all it was. It was a 10-minute improvisation. Yeah, there's no post-production of any kind, and I thought it was worth putting something to it, you know.
Yeah.
And as far as the visuals are concerned, it was, I just thought of a counterpoint. I can't talk like this.
No. Okay. In which case, I think what we'll do is we'll say thank you very much, Andrew. I will no doubt at some point over the next however long drop you an email or have a chat on the phone, and it would be lovely to catch up. Hopefully before too long we'll be able to do gigs where we can actually do gigs, and even if they're socially distanced, that would be great to actually be able to chat face to face in the real world. And thank you so much for a wonderful piece. So Andrew Hooker, everybody. No, that's a real shame, and it does just go to show the difficulties of what everybody has and what we're all trying to go through. Wow, that was this evening, Rob. That was. What did you make of that?
Yeah, no, it was brilliant for me because it was like you say, no modular pieces tonight. So for me, is kind of took me out of my comfort zone, listening to all these different pieces and different approaches. So really enjoyed it as always.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting, diverse kind of night. Irrespective of a few kind of tech gremlins that were snuck in, I think it's been thoroughly enjoyable. So big shout out to tonight's performers. In chronological order, we had Mark Albro, Doug McCausland, Andrea Andrick, Tristan Burfield, and last off we had Andrew Hooker, who you just saw there. We've also obviously had Rob Dickson, who's been co-hosting, and it's been great. Thank you very much, Rob.
Thanks for having me.
No, it's a pleasure. We've also had Charles Gershom in the background, sort of doing videos and all those things, and queuing everything up and making sure everybody can sound as good as they possibly can. We've also had Rob Spall, who's sort of trying to keep track of all the comments and things, and did all of our idents and the backgrounds and those wonderful things. And yeah, lots of friends and family who've been very supportive for everybody. Very last quick thing, if you have got a penny or two to spare for help towards cost of doing stuff, if you don't mind going and donating at coffee.com, which is down there, literally kind of towards the renting of the digital space and broadcasting and people's computers break. But on going back to the last bit, we are going to be doing a collaboration between Oscilloscope and Modulate at some point in the not too distant future. And which brings us to a wonderful thing that Rob put together, which we may or may not see if Charles has managed to get to the buttons in time. No. So yeah, there is Robert Spall's wonderful tease for that. And
Love
actually, I'm kind of already kind of excited about the idea about doing something kind of experimental, but as it says there, party and experimental style. That sounds ideal. That almost sounds exactly like what we need right now. So watch this space for that. Rob, anything else you want to add at all, or whatnot? Or
no,
just down there.
Yeah,
if you want to go and hear some Rob's music, that's it.
Yeah, cool. One thing I would say for those who are interested in buying other people's stuff on Bandcamp, not promote mine anyway, but it's Bandcamp Friday, I think. Is it a week on Friday? I'm not sure. Or is it next?
Yes.
Not this Friday, it's Friday after. No. So it just means that more of the money goes to the artist who's actually produced the music. So there's been loads of great links tonight. So if you are gonna buy something, put it in your wish list and maybe wait until next Friday, and then it's a great thing Bandcamp do every month. So great way to support an artist. So.
Really good thing, and it's one of the least kind of mercenary, large-scale ones out there at the minute, isn't it? I mean, if you compare it to the ethics of things like Spotify, it's 1,000 times better. Yes, as someone's typed on their Bandcamp is the future.
I do. So, I do have a thing that uploads to Spotify, and you can. There's this thing you can say that see excruciating detail of how much you earn per stream, and it's really not worth looking at, is it?
No, it really isn't. No, especially if you're doing anything a bit out there or a bit marginal or a bit unusual. Well, that are going to rock some people's worlds, but it's not going to be that many people.
I don't know how many listens you'd have to get to buy yourself a cup of coffee, but
thousands,
thousands and thousands. But Bandcamp is a brilliant way of directly supporting people, and
So on that cheerful note, thank you very much for joining us. Please do join us again next month, and join Modulate. If you haven't come across them, stick them in search, and I'm sure you will find Modulate music all over the place. Instagram, Facebook,
YouTube,
all of those things.
YouTube's probably the best one.
That's the one. Yes,
there's quite a load of stuff on there now. So
yes, and it was great fun being involved with some of that as well. So thank you very much for joining us. Take care, everybody, and hopefully see you soon. Bye.